Hello everybody, welcome to my latest video. This is a video on Inquisitor Martyr, and I think you can tell from the screen, offline mode has finally come to console. Now I knew this was coming on the 12th, I wasn't sure what time, so I did think that when I got home from work, I would just give it a quick check. When I did, basically got greeted by that opening screen saying there is maintenance ongoing on the servers, would I like to switch to offline mode? Which of course I did. So this video is going to be covering off what differences are there between the two game modes, what similarities, and what's it actually done to the game. So first and foremost, the differences. The main one, for anyone who's played a lot of Inquisitor Martyr, is none of the work that you have done, none of the time that you've put in so far, will be carried across. So if you have multiple level 100 characters, unfortunately they are online only. You cannot bring them to your offline mode. You can't transfer them, even one way permanent. They are literally stuck in the online environment. Offline has its own character set, and when you first boot up the offline mode, you have to start the game again. Hence why I am starting a Sisters of Battle with the campaign right at the beginning. Because as nothing transfers, progress doesn't either. So you cannot skip the campaign at all. Realistically, bearing in mind this is now a solo game in offline, there is absolutely no point in skipping it, because if you do, you've basically skipped the game. There's no reason to rush, because it's not like you're trying to get to the top of a leaderboard by completing certain objectives. The only things you have in the offline mode are basically to play the game and enjoy it. So the story, in my opinion, is one of the better story modes in ARPGs out there. And yes, I'm looking at you, Path of Exile, because I still have no idea what your story is about, or even if there actually is one, because yeah, I'm gonna leave that one there. Probably have lots of comments trying to explain it to me, but there we go. Inquisitor Martyr actually does have a very good Warhammer 40k story, and it's one of the things I like about it, the fact that the story is actually decent, and I have played the campaign through many times. The only time I don't is when a season happens, and that brings us on to that, I suppose, elephant in the room is quite an apt statement here. Seasonal content and everything that goes with it is absent from the offline mode. So Season Journey, where you could select any season you wanted, is not available at all. And I'm not just talking about the leaderboards, I'm talking about any of the content, including the cosmetics you unlock by completing the objectives, including the commendations, the portraits, the abilities, anything. It's not available at all. You have the base game and the DLC, so that does include the Prophecy expansion, but it does not include any seasonal content. I do have to frame that, I suppose, because unfortunately the developers of Inquisitor Martyr have two different types of season. So you have the seasons as we know them today, which are the season of Inferno, etc, etc. When they first started, they had additional content called seasons. So they had Season 1, which was Chaos Undivided, Season 2, which was the Drakari Menace, and Season 3, which was something else, which I can't quite remember at the moment. I'm talking about the seasons such as Inferno. They are not available. Now, once you've finished playing your offline mode and want to go back to online even, you can see this screen. Now this is just basically telling you that online mode is as the developers originally intended. It's where you get access to every single feature, including social features and seasonal content, but you must be connected constantly to the internet, and you have to access back-end services of Neocore and therefore must create a Neocore account. This does explain that the online and offline modes are separate and you cannot transfer anything between the two, but you can switch between the two. So switch between your offline and your online characters anytime you like from the main menu. Now, both your online and your offline progression are stored, so you're never going to lose progression, but they are stored differently. Currently, to my current understanding, and I will rejoin this or retouch on this in a few minutes, but to my current understanding, your online characters and progression are stored on the Neocourse servers. So what that means is you can carry on playing the same character across your different consoles. So if you have a PS4 and a PS5 and you log in with the same account, you can carry on playing your same characters across the two, provided you have the same DLC. So for instance, if you've only bought the PS5 Battle Sister or Sororitas, you won't be able to play that character on the PS4, unfortunately, but that's a whole nother story that I did make a video on back in the day. Anyway, back to the point. So they are saved on the server. Your offline characters are only saved on the device. So you cannot play that same character on another device, as far as I can tell. Now, I say that it might be uploaded to the PlayStation Cloud, in which case you can. So just be aware that if you're on PlayStation, you can probably, no guarantee, probably play the same character across consoles. I don't think that option is available on Xbox though, so please do double check that. Now, I wanted to get that out of the way because obviously the difference between online and offline is quite stark in the fact that most of the endgame content that people have been playing for the last 2 or 3 years, maybe even longer, has been the season content to constantly try and race to the top of the leaderboard. The offline mode removes all of that, so literally it's just you're playing the game for the love of the game and not for the challenge of getting to the top spots. So if you're only open or into it for a challenge, offline mode probably isn't going to be for you. Now, interestingly, there are certain other modes in this game from DLCs that also had a leaderboard. The leaderboards will not be available. So that's like the City of Suffering DLC, for example. You'll still be able to do it, but you won't be able to compare your score with anybody else's. Take that as it is. That's literally all there is to say. So, as I've said, your online characters are still available. So if you switch to the offline mode, you can switch back to online whenever you want to. There is this little toggle on screen that you can see, and it just allows you to switch between offline and online. All of your characters are available in each mode. So if you create 6 characters online and 6 characters offline, obviously they will all still be available in their respective modes. So do not panic about that in the slightest. And there we go. Look. Everything's working as it should, and all of the seasonal stuff is still showing for the online characters. Now, one thing I did notice when I was playing the offline mode, they haven't changed the menu layout. So if I switch back to offline, before we get into that, we do have the opposite message. So if we're going from online to offline, this basically explains what the difference is, but in the reverse. So it's telling you about offline mode. Still has exactly the same bottom section, but it is just telling you that online features such as multiplayer, leaderboards, social features, etc. are not available. But obviously it allows you to play through the entire game without needing to connect to the internet. So for those who don't like always online, this is the way to play, basically. So once we jump back into the game, I did notice that the menus include all of the same options, but some of them are greyed out. Now, what I mean by that, for instance, is you have a radial menu when you go into the menus, and you will have things such as your character, your skills, passives as they call them. You will have different things like that, including options, etc., etc. There are 2 specific menu items in that radial. One is Cabal, and one is Social. Both of those are greyed out and cannot be accessed. You cannot have a Cabal if there is just you. So Cabals are also completely and utterly locked off. You do not carry your Cabal over from your online mode. So there's no benefits from Cabals in the game either in the offline mode. So if you've unlocked all of those lovely abilities within Ragnar, unfortunately, no such luck. So I wanted to deal with also what I think has changed with the game. So not just game modes, but also, has anything improved? Have there been any improvements by going offline? And I think the answer may be yes. Anyone who's played this game a lot knows that in these open world maps, they have quite a lot of performance issues. So you have screen tearing, you have horrible stutter, and I'll go into that in a second. But you also have, well, basically those two things, but you do have kind of like artifacts on the screen as well. And by that I mean like little glitches, etc. So I think you can probably see here that the screen tear at the bottom third of the screen is still happening quite a lot. I was hoping that would disappear, but unfortunately it hasn't. What does appear to have improved is the stuttering. Now, I want to describe what I mean by stutter. A lot of people have said that this has suffered from performance-related FPS drops, so frame rate issues. It actually hasn't, and I've proved this to myself, if nobody else. When you look at your character never has any type of FPS drops at all. And if it was a frame-related issue, the entire screen would suffer, including your character and enemy NPCs. None of those have the stutter problem. The only thing that stutters is the background when you're moving. Now, I think it's a rendering issue, and it's struggling to render as much information as it needs while you're moving your character. So it renders your character great, it renders anything you need to interact with great, but the background struggles. So you kind of get this little judder that looks like frame rate problems, but actually isn't. Now, it seems to be greatly reduced. It's still there, but it does appear to be greatly reduced in the offline mode. And not being a game developer or IT professional, I might be just making this up or misremembering what I've been told. But I do think that when you have netcode and you have online data being transferred, it does put additional strain on engines of games. So the game engine itself is trying to not only do all of the streaming of assets, it's also trying to do that to and from a server to make sure that everything is synchronized. And because of that, it's putting additional strain on an already not overly optimized engine. And I say that because it's not overly optimized for PlayStation. I'm not saying it's because they can't. It could be a time frame related issue or various other things, but it's not as optimized as it could be. Now, the fact they no longer have to stream any of that netcode, they no longer have to send data between clients or servers or anything else, it's probably relieved a lot of the burden, and therefore you get a smoother gameplay experience. So that is something to look forward to if you've ever had a problem with this game's stability. Now, obviously I've not played a huge amount. This update only released today, and I have been at work, and I've had to do this when I came home and after eating my dinner. So I haven't had as much time with it as I would like. I may do an update again in the future, just to say whether I've seen any improvements other than what I've said. One thing that I did kind of touch on before and want to fully deal with now is I mentioned the fact that your characters are stored on servers when you're in online mode. Now, when I saw the changelog, there was something in the changelog about servers peer-to-peer no longer needing to connect to official servers. Now, if that's the case, that may mean that Neocore are shutting their servers down. I don't know. And it was just on a changelog in the Discord, but it did say F2P, so P2P, so peer-to-peer, co-op mode. No need to connect to official servers. I don't know what else that could mean other than the fact that the official servers are no longer required. If that's the case, where are your characters going to be saved? But anyway, I'm going to leave that question with you guys. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you found this video interesting and if it's piqued your interest, please make sure you click the like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and please let me leave me a comment. And as always, you all take care, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video very soon. Bye for now.